Who am I that a king would set his eyes on a cross for me? Who am I, full of sin and full of pride and brokenness, that you would leave heaven and glory to write me back into your story?
All right, good morning, church. Okay. Don't touch my ear. Okay. Guys, listen, as we continue in our sermon series, we're going to be in Acts chapter 6 and 7 today. We're trying to cover 2 chapters today. Lots of ground to cover. If you turn there now, we'll get started in just a moment. And while you turn there, I just want to say this. I want to recognize, guys, that there are some in the church that are hurting. There are marriages that are hurting right now. There are families that are hurting. There are health concerns. There are financial concerns. There's some in the church right now who are just looking for guidance, just looking for just to be able to take a step forward in the morning, and they just don't even know how that's going to happen. Even as I wear this shirt, as an awareness and support of even little Kevin and all the troubles and trials and difficulties this little guy has gone through, I recognize that we have some hurts within the body. And so as you turn to Acts chapter 6, I just want to open with a quick word of prayer, guys. And I just ask that you would just take whatever that is, whatever you carried in, whatever is heavy on your heart or your minds, or even weighing heavy on your spirit today. Just do the best you can to just let that go. Just lay it at the foot of the cross. Allow the Spirit of God just to move and do amazing things in you today. Not just today, but in every day. And open up to His Word today and to His presence right here. Okay, so let's go ahead and pray. Father, we pray. God, we thank you, first of all, just that we are here, that we can be here, that we have gathered here this morning. Father, meet us in this place. Meet us here, Father. Change us. Oh, God, that is my prayer for this entire year, that you would change us. You wouldn't leave us the same today, tomorrow, yesterday, that you would constantly be changing us. Change this church, Father. May we be a church and a people that is on fire for you, that is committed to Jesus and following and serving and exemplifying. And Father, I just ask that whatever we've brought in this morning, whatever is weighing heavy upon our hearts, God, that you will move and work in those lives. That you would bring healing and restoration and refreshing and strength and hope and peace and courage. And Father, that your grace and your mercy would just abound and your love would overflow in our lives, so that we would see you in everything. God, that we would hear you at all times. And so, Father, today open our eyes to see you, open our ears to hear you, open our hearts and our spirits to receive you, Father, to embrace you, so that you are lifted up and glorified. And we ask all this in Jesus' name. Amen. All right, guys, Acts chapter 6, chapter 7. What we're going to do is we're going to kind of revisit something that we looked at months ago. Probably about 6 months ago in the previous sermon series, right, Living in the Red. There was a particular pause. You guys remember the pause sermon? It was like everything was decked out and then there was a pause right in the middle. It was almost right in the middle. The idea of that pause video was for us to really get a focus, to really understand there's a spiritual battle going on that is like, it's for real. It is for real, guys, and we're a part of that. And the concept was, are we all in? That was the question we were asking. Are we all in with following Jesus? Because listen, He doesn't require 80% or even 90% or even 99.9%. Jesus requires and deserves, it demands 100% commitment. And so I want to kind of revisit that, because that's what we're going to see in the text today. We're going to be looking at this guy named Stephen. Some of you probably know the story, probably know it very well. Some of you in here may have heard this story or read this story hundreds of times. very realistically. Others of you, maybe this is just a handful of times you've heard about this guy named Stephen. Maybe someone else in here, you're wondering who's Stephen, and you're about to find out this morning. There's an example in there for us, though, as far as commitment, as far as following Jesus, and that's where we want to focus on today. And as we go through the text, we're going to see, actually as we go through the text from here forward as well, we're going to see some things that are going to continue. Some things that already began and then continuing. One is church growth. The church is growing. We've seen that. We're going to continue to see that. The other thing that we are going to continue seeing is the enemy is going to step up and attack. It is just the way it is. He's going to continue to do what he's good at doing, and that is attacking us. And so we've already seen some of the external and some of the internal attacks. External attacks we saw a couple weeks ago. Peter and John. Remember, they're headed to the temple to pray. There's this beggar, or a crippled man I should say. They heal him. Their reward is they're thrown in jail, and they're threatened, and then they're set free. That was an external attack. What was the result? The church grew, so it didn't work. And so the enemy comes back right after that with an internal attack, and we saw that with Ananias and Sapphira. And he tries to get them to disrupt the flow of the church inside, from the inside out, to destroy it. And they drop dead, and what's the result? The church grows. Then we go back to another external attack, which we saw last week, where it's not just Peter and John now. It is all of the apostles chucked in jail, and they're not just given a little warning and a little slap on the wrist. They're beaten severely, and they're released. What's the result? The church grows again. And now this week we come back around to another internal attack, where we start off in Acts chapter 6, where we have the church is growing. And you have widows that are being overlooked in the distribution of food. And you have this group of widows over here, they speak Hebrew. And then this group of widows over here, and they speak Greek. There's a little bit of a language barrier. The apostles are probably speaking Aramaic, so there's just kind of a language barrier everywhere. So the enemy is trying to get racism into the church, trying to divide the church, this group against this group, and backbiting, and all this kind of stuff, trying, again, to destroy from the inside out. Well, it didn't work, because 7 men, godly men, were chosen to be deacons, that just means servant, and they took care of this situation. What happens? The church grew. Awesome. So then we go back to where? External now, right? The external. We're going back to external now this week, and we're looking at Stephen. And again, the enemy is going to try to get this external attack, anything he can do to destroy the church, to bring it down. And we're going to see that Stephen is falsely accused of some things, and he's dragged before the Sanhedrin. You remember these guys. These are the elite leaders of the day. We would equate them to the Supreme Court of America. Essentially, that's how powerful these people are. And he's dragged in before them, and it's going to be a little bit different than a slap on the wrist. It's going to be a little bit different than a beating and let him go. This is actually going to end in a death sentence, which most of you, if not all of you, already know that. But there's an example in there for us of commitment, and so I'm going to take a closer look at that. So if you guys are ready, like I said, we got a lot of ground to cover. Let's start reading in Acts chapter 6, and we'll start in verse 7. So the word of God spread. Okay, we've seen that. We've seen that. The number of disciples in Jerusalem increased rapidly. We've seen that. But here's something new. And a large number of priests became obedient to the faith. So this was a group that was previously opposed to this movement, but now they're jumping in. They're getting on board with this viral movement that's taking place. There's some growth that's happening. Now, remember, kind of try to take chapter 6 and 7 and bring it down, put it in a nutshell, for time consistency, time restraints here. You've got these women, these widows, remember, in the church. And you've got the difference in the language. They're being overlooked in the distribution of food. These 7 men are chosen to take care of that, to help with that, and they do so. And one of those 7 men is this guy named Stephen. Stephen begins to grow in his faith and his service to the Lord, and he's out talking one day, and he's just having a conversation, and he's so wise, there's so much wisdom, that what he's saying can't be refuted. And it causes a problem. And so these people come in and they start to just bring false testimony against Stephen. They start to say, the false testimony, they drag him in before the Sanhedrin, and they're saying things like, he's speaking out against the holy place, that's the temple, that's bad juju, you don't do that. He's speaking out against the law of God again. We just don't do those things. Those are no-nos. But they're false accusations. But that's what's brought up against him. And then I love Acts chapter 7, verse 1. They ask the question. The Sanhedrin asks one simple question. Are these charges true? That's it. That's what they ask. Verse 1. Are these charges true? This guy doesn't give a straight textbook preacher answer. I don't know what it looks like, guys. Because verse 2 all the way through like verse 50 something, he is going on and he is defending his case. But not once does he say yes or no, but he defends his case. I just think it's kind of funny because of, preacher answer, like it's not a yes, no. But he goes into great detail, actually, and I'll share a little more in the reflection on Tuesday about the significance of the talk that he says. But essentially what he's saying to the Sanhedrin and to the religious leaders there is not pretty. He's really saying, you guys, y'all, or all y'all, really, all y'all, so let me just put it in the current vernacular that we would have, what he said, all y'all is a bunch of stupid, stubborn, stiff-necked people. Can you imagine how well that went over? They're like, ooh, Stephen, yay. No, they didn't like that. So he's calling them stupid, stubborn, stiff-necked people. Okay, so that's what's going on through the entire talk there. And then this is what we see. So skipping down now to Acts chapter 7 and verse 54. I'll give you a half a second or so to catch up where we're at. 7:54, that's on the screen behind me. So when the members of the Sanhedrin heard this, that is their stupid, stubborn, stiff-necked people, they were furious. I bet they were. And they gnashed their teeth at him. But Stephen, full of the Holy Spirit, looked up to heaven and saw the glory of God and Jesus standing at the right hand of God. Verse 56, he says, look, I see heaven open and the Son of Man standing at the right hand of God. At this they covered their ears, and yelling at the top of their voices, they all rushed at him, dragged him out of the city, and began to stone him. I just want to pause there for a moment. Try to get the scene if you can. Now, I'm a movie buff. You guys know that. Actually, I've been talking about my love languages. If you saw it on Facebook, I put tacos in there for love languages, which is kind of funny. Just look it up. But honestly, I think my number one love language is quality time. So I don't care what we're doing together. We're just doing something together. We're hanging out. I love it. It's quality time. That's why family time. I love family time. My entire family is here today, which is super cool. And my grandson, which you guys will probably meet next week. And my mom came to visit. So it's a good day. It's a good day for Ray. Good day, Ray. It's a good day for Ray. But try to get the scene. Okay, try to get the scene of what's going on. Stephen is standing there. He's just going about his discussion, really defending himself, and then they don't like what they hear. They don't even stop to give him a verdict. Right? They go from a crowd to an angry mob, just in a heartbeat. So try to picture the scene. Again, being a movie buff, I kind of think of like putting this in a movie scene and directing it and kind of, just go with me in this, okay? So you kind of see the camera kind of pans over. The crowd starts to shout and scream. You don't know what they're saying, but you just hear it. Their voices are here, right? They go to 11 for sure, 100%. They're just screaming and yelling. They grab them and they start to drag them out into the city streets. And again, I picture that very violently, not, just a little mamby-pamby. It's violent. They throw him down, they drag him. There's dust that's raising up in the air. Maybe some are punching at him and kicking at him as they're dragging. Maybe some are tearing his clothes, some are spitting on him. They're dragging him into the streets. Again, there's this dust cloud that follows, and you see this mob just moving out into the street with him. And then as you see this, you've got these men who are taking off their coats, and they're setting them down and they're picking up stones. So understand this. When you read about stoning in the Bible, it wasn't like, little rocks and pebbles. No, nothing like that. We're talking about like bowling ball size or bigger. And then it would have this little pit that you would be in, and so they would stand over you and throw the stones down to crush you. It was violent. It was horrible. So that's kind of the scene. They're dragging him into the streets. And again, with the dust flying up in the air, and then I kind of picture how it starts to settle a little bit. Maybe the sun kind of beams through, and then you see this pile of coats. Because all the men are taking off their coats and grabbing stones. And you kind of you focus on that pile of coats, and maybe it's like this high, I don't know, big heavy coats, and it starts to pan upward like this. And you see there's a man standing behind the coats, and it moves up the legs, and then the waist, and the stomach and chest, and then it's to his face. And it's not Stephen. It's a guy named Saul of Tarsus, and we're gonna hear more about him as we go forward. And he's basically doing this. Big thumbs up. He's approving the death of Stephen right there at that moment. And we know that this is going on because the text continues and says, meanwhile, that is, while they're dragging him out in the streets, the witnesses laid their coats at the feet of a young man named Saul. Verse 59, don't miss this, guys. While they were stoning him. That is big. While they were stoning, don't miss that one. While they were stoning him. While they were taking rocks in their hands, while they were taking the largest stones they could and crushing his face and breaking bones in his arms and legs, and he was bleeding out and dying. While they were stoning him, don't miss that. While they were stoning him, Stephen prayed, Lord Jesus, receive my spirit. Guys, that's what we're talking about this morning. That's all in. That's what it means to be all in. That's what it looks like to be all in. I know we talked about this before. Are you all in? And we've asked the question before, and we've kind of gone over that. But that is full commitment. I think about David. Back in 2 Samuel chapter 24, he wants to make this offering. He wants to build an altar and make an offering to the Lord. He goes out to this farmer's field. He's looking around and says, this is perfect. It's exactly what I want. He goes to the farmer and says, I want to buy your field because I want to do this. And the farmer says, oh, dude, no, you're the king. You can just have it, man. I'm just humbled that you're here. And David says, no, I'm going to pay full price. And catch this. This is what he says. I will not offer to God that which cost me nothing. He understood that there was some sacrifice involved, that there was some work involved. That's what we're talking about, being all in, regardless of the cost, regardless of the sacrifice. You see, I think we have a problem today in the church. I don't know that we're as committed to Jesus today as the early church was thousands of years ago. You know, let me just ask you this. How many of you guys have gym memberships? Just by show of hands. Yeah. Chutzpah! Yeah, I was hoping you would be here. In the middle of a workout, Jeff screams out, Chutzpah! In the gym. It was awesome. Like the fans stop spinning. The music stops. People are at their treadmills and they're like, right? Like E.F. Hutton moment. Everybody stops. You're looking at him. He's like, he just gave me a thumbs up. I'm like, yeah, Chutzpah. All right, good job, Jeff. So yeah, gym memberships. How many of you have gone? Yes, did you go last week? Anybody? Okay, if you have your membership. Woo, good job. All right, good job, people. And I know we have more that are not here, but they're represented too. How many of you have the little Kroger card? You know the little card that gives you the savings? Yeah, it's kind of cool. Savings at the pump. I always get like 10 cents off at the gas pump after a while. My wife says I can go spend money and I get benefits. I don't really see that yet. But anyways, I'm working through that. It's a process. I might need counseling. How many of you have the Martin's card? Yeah. How many of you have both? Both, yeah. See that there are benefits to being a member, right? There really are. Now, there's nothing wrong with that because I have all of those cards and I try my best to remember them, and I don't usually, but that's okay. But I have those too, and there's nothing wrong with those cards and being members of those particular stores or anything, or even gyms. But guys, I think part of our problem, though, the church in America, I think, is we take that mentality into the church, that membership mindset, and we come walking in, and church is all about me. And it becomes a problem because then when it's not focused on me, then we have problems. And yet the commitment, the focus should be on Jesus and not ourselves. And I don't mean to get on anybody, because I can tell you 100%, I've been there, I've done that, and there are times even through my week where I've got to just draw back, where I come walking in here and the lights are off and Cindy has no idea where I'm at, because she walks by and the lights are off and I'm sitting over here in the chair, or I like to sit up here a lot. This is nice and toasty, and I'm a cold guy. I like to sit, I just sit in here in the dark, and I spend time in prayer, and sometimes it's just hours, where I just sit in here, and some of it is just, oh, God, speak to me, and some of it's just really wrestling what's in my heart. So I get it, guys. I'm not like this picture perfect dude up here, standing here, who got everything figured out and all the answers. I'm not. I'm the same as you. I have a different role in ministry. That's it. That's all, guys. So I understand the struggle. But I think our commitment level sometimes is just so lame. I don't know how else to say it. It's just bad. Guys, for real, we have some of the things in this book that we look at and we think, oh, well, why can't we have that today? Why can't we have the same things? And I think we can. But I think our commitment is off. And so I want to share with you one takeaway this morning. Just one. Just super easy. I'm keeping it as simple as I can, and it's already on the screen. We have to be committed. we have to be all in, 100%. And I don't think we can really move past this point, guys. We're at chapter 6, chapter 7 in the book of Acts. We're going to go through an entire year looking at this in this study. And if we can't get this right, man, then just the rest of the study is just not going to bear the fruit that I'm hoping and I'm praying that it will. Again, I'm not saying anybody's terrible. I'm just saying that as a commitment level, guys, we need to step it up. I know I can step it up. And I'm just being honest. I think we can all do so. I kind of look at it this way. You ever heard someone talk about, it's like they'll talk about their favorite sports team. Let's use football because it's just easy for me as an example. Right? And they watch their football game and then you talk to them later. Maybe it's the Packers, right? And you say something like, well, we didn't do too good on defense today. I think that's why we lost. Right? And of course, me, probably not you, but my immediate thought is we. I didn't see you on the field. Right? And I've said those things before too, so I don't mean any disrespect or anything. I'm just being goofy with that. But honestly, I think if you're sitting in your living room and you're nice and cozy and toasty and you're looking outside and the snow is blowing all over the place and it's like 50 below, right? And like everything is frozen over and you're watching the football game and the scene looks exactly the same. It's miserable. You can't even see the field because it's white. Okay, just covered in snow, right? When you're there with a drink in this hand and snacks in this hand and you're super comfortable and you're watching we play, right? You're watching, there's a huge difference between watching that and then being over here and actually being in that game. Having the pads strapped on, putting the helmet on, getting in the game on the field and being part of the play. There's sacrifice that takes place that we just don't get if we're sitting here with our snacks. Because we didn't sacrifice. We didn't go to practices. We didn't go to two-a-days. Oh, hated two-a-days. Always August in Michigan. God, the worst football time ever, ever, ever. Yep, yeah, you're nodding your head. You get it too. Yeah. The worst. Absolutely. So we don't get it. We don't get the sacrifice. Even sacrifice when they go in and they play. And sometimes they're injured and they play and they still get more injured. So there's so much sacrifice that's involved to go out there for that offering, so to speak, that we don't get. Because we are sitting in our chair. And I think we do the same with church. We can easily look at the church today and be like, oh man, the church is a mess, the nation is a mess, the people are a mess. There's this, we're just going to, what do we say, hell in a handbasket? I can say that right, is that okay? I already said it, sorry. But we kind of have that mindset of, the world is just crumbling down and the enemy is reigning supreme. Guys, part of that is just because we don't step up. Just as the church, we don't. We kind of do like the we sit back and go, yeah, well, we are losing because... No, we are losing because you're sitting in a chair and you're not out there doing what we are supposed to be doing. It's all about commitment. It's huge. I think we miss it. I really think we miss it. In fact, I know we miss it. I think there are far too many fans in the church today. And I love that Kyle Idleman came up with that fan-follower thing. Far too many fans and not enough followers. And I agree. Because guys, listen, I'll close with this. We are in a battle. We are. If you get nothing out of this, I want you to get this. I want you to be able to walk out of here with a sober understanding that we are in a spiritual battle, an epic spiritual battle. And the enemy absolutely hates you. He wants to destroy you. And he will do anything and everything he can to destroy you, to destroy your marriage, to destroy your family, to destroy your health, destroy your finances. He doesn't care. He just wants to destroy you, tear you apart, and bring you down. That's what he wants. This is real. This is an epic battle, guys. I don't know that we think about that enough. I think we're good with some prayer and some Bible study, but honestly, I think our commitment level starts to fall just after that. And it's deeper than that. It's not just church membership. It goes far beyond that. Far beyond that. Because guys, listen, we're talking about real people. We're talking about real lives. I have family and friends that don't have the commitment to Jesus. They don't know Jesus the way I do. I want that for them. I do. I know all of you. You're nodding your heads. You get the same. You have family. You have friends. Your co-workers, neighbors. You know people that are not where you hope them to be with Jesus. That commitment that they need, let alone where we're at. You get it. I understand that. And it's a real thing. It is. And so our job is to step up. Right? Our job is make disciples. Who make disciples? Who make disciples? Who make disciples? Church growth. Guys, but we gotta be all in. 100%, not 80%, not 99%, not even 99.9%. Yeah, I'm all done with this. I thought I was. It's all in, guys. All or nothing. And then we've heard that, and then you're like, well, it's not really all or nothing. And I could say that's true, but we need to be all in. That commitment needs to be the absolute most that we can. If we're going to get anything from this study, if we're going to get anything from moving forward, just our own walk with Jesus, we got to be all in. 100%, guys. Our commitment begins and ends with Jesus. Everything in between. So let me just challenge you then this morning. If you're here, well, you are.